Hi, welcome to Wealthy Mindset. My name is Oliver. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a great day. In today's video, I'm going to cover GameStop stock for April 19th to the next few trading weeks. I'm going to analyze the graph to give you the lows and highs, essentially price target predictions, and I'm going to say something significant in the next minute or a half as well. But quick disclaimer before I begin, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional, and everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice, so please do not buy or sell based off the information I give you or the opinions I do form. Please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, before I get into the graph, like always, the reason why I want to show something significant is Keith Gill, also known as Roaring Kitty, just amazing stuff, and I'm going to explain why it's amazing stuff. So he posted a screenshot on his portfolio showing that he has exercised his 500 GameStop call options that are expiring on Friday, which was April 16th, 2021, at a strike price of $12, giving him 50,000 more shares, and the stock closed at 154.69 on Friday. So he got 50,000 additional shares, plus he also bought another 50,000 shares of GameStop, making his total holdings of 200,000 shares. He had 100,000 before in the beginning of the month. His total investment in GameStop is now worth more than $30 million, giving him a profit of nearly $20 million. Honestly, amazing job on his side. Like, literally, congratulations on his side. Awesome stuff. The reason why it's significant, is if you are a viewer of my channel, like a normal viewer of my channel, you've seen this upward trend support line that I've showed in the past that dates back since December 2020, comes down, bounces off as support, goes to the upside, comes back down, bounces off support, goes to the upside, bounces off as support. Now, during this time right here, because I'm going to elaborate why Roaring Kitty's timing is amazing, and he entered during this time, and the reason why it was amazing then, and then potentially right now. This is the reason why I'm excited, because the timing he's entering right now could be the right timing. I don't know if he's viewing at this point, like the way he's viewing it, but he could, like, I'm gonna explain more. It's pretty exciting stuff. I'm pretty excited. So during this time he entered, I remember it was questionable stuff. My friends were even worried. Everybody was kind of worried for the most part. In terms of like people who have diamond hands, no worries whatsoever. They're probably adding more and all that stuff. But like, if like normal people, everybody's like pretty much worried. Like, it's natural to be worried, regardless if you have diamond hands or not, right? But Roaring Kitty, man, just honestly awesome stuff. Downward trend resistance line right here. I just drew a quick amateur one, but if like I drew it correctly, and if you've seen my past videos, you've noticed that like there were clean touch points on this. Plus, there was a nice clean bounce as well. Now, the reason why people were worried as well, though, too, is not only was upward trend support line, technically it was hovering a little bit, but it had a false breakout. If I zoom in, you can see that small false breakout right there. So pretty worrying stuff. But Roaring Kitty enters during this time. I think it was like February 19th or something like that. Next few trading days, the shorts cover, and there's a short squeeze during this time. Amazing timing. Like, he took a risk. I think he bought about 50,000 shares, so on and so forth. Now, if you continue the cycle, bounce off the support level right here, like I kept on in the cycle, goes to the upside, gets knocked down essentially, and I'm thinking personally that it would continue on the cycle, come back down on December touch point right here, and goes to the upside, right? Now, it's not guaranteed. You could just basically consolidate forever until it meets it and then bounce up to the upside. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. Nobody knows for sure what could happen. Do your own due diligence and research and form your own opinion before buying and selling. But I was anticipating that. Now, technically, I guess he either probably doesn't really care, or I'm assuming he knows what he's doing. So this is the reason why I'm excited, because this upward trend support line that I've shown in the past 2 or 3 videos that I've posted for GameStop overall, and his timing could be perfect again, and this guy is just crushing it. Just honestly, again, props to Roaring Kitty. Amazing stuff. So I was anticipating the December support level to bounce off of to go to the upside, but it potentially could bounce off this February 4th upward trend support line, I believe. February 4th, yeah. By the way, in case if you're wondering, if you're a new viewer, this line right here dates back since September 2020. Goes, like, if I zoomed in, there's a lot more cleaner touch points, and then held us through here, broke through it, and then bounced off the December one. The reason why I'm still including it is just in case if it breaks through the December one, and then we could bounce off the September one to the upside. Again, nobody knows for sure if we'll bounce up. We could easily, by the way, can we break through these support levels? For sure we could break through them. We don't have to basically, there's no guarantee to bounce off them. Now, the reason why I'm excited for his, like Roaring Kitty's entry timing, amazing stuff. I don't know if I fully showed it, but bounced off a resistance here, or like had a resistance here, 2 touch points as resistance, 2 false breakouts, bounced off a support right here on February 26th, bounced off a support right here on March 24th, and then conglomerate of support touch points right here, but plus 1 false breakout. So it's not necessarily a strong support level necessarily. Actually, it's pretty strong, but it's not a guaranteed support level because it has a false breakout. But the same could be said about December as well, because it's a false breakout. Yeah, he still entered, so it could be a repeat again, actually, almost. So the reason why I'm excited is if you look at the support level right here, and if you look at the resistance level here from the all-time high and touch point right here. So January 27th, January 28th, all-time high, downward trend resistance line, touched over right here on March 10th. And then we have a second and a third touch point resistance line. So resistance lines all the way down here started from, it actually started right about here, March 15th. This one starts on March 9th. This one's a different shade because it's acts as support and resistance at the same time. You can see here, resistance and then support right here. Hopefully it's easy to see. But either way, the main focus is comes down on support level, goes to the upside, comes like a bunch of resistance knocking it down anyway, comes back down to support, goes back up, knocked down by a bunch of resistance, comes back down to support, and is getting knocked down by resistance, right? What his timing could be phenomenal again, and this is the reason why I'm excited, is he could be anticipating, if he's looking at it this way, I'm not sure personally, but if he's anticipating the cycle to continue, then essentially it would bounce off the support and then break through the resistance. And that would be awesome. That would be great. Because if it does, then it could potentially spike up to the upside. Now, does it have to do it right away? No, doesn't have to do it right away. If I zoom in right here, so essentially, like what I was showing earlier, bounce off the support, go to the upside. Didn't show it that clean, but either way, hopefully you get the idea. Now, what it could also do is just basically just break off on and continue on the upward trend support level right here and just keep bouncing, like have micro bounces, and then maybe in the one day in the future break off to the upside. I want to show one quick thing. So in terms of GameStop right here, just showing it. By the way, if you want to know in terms of how many how many shares are being shorted or percentage, just go to Yahoo Finance, go to statistics, and then go down to, where is it, right here, share statistics. So in terms of shares being shorted, in terms of percentage for float, it's 38.93% as of March 31st. And then it's 15.29% in terms of shares shorted in terms of outstanding. The difference is floated shares means restricted shares are removed from this calculation, and outstanding includes restricted shares as well. So technically, if you want the real representation, it's 15.29%, but these are restricted shares included. So I would look at this almost more specifically, but then at the same time, there's some iffy stuff happening here and there. But either way, this is still quite a bit of shorted shares. So the reason why I'm showing this, again, I'm not a professional, so take everything with a grain of salt. But I personally think we have at least one more short coverings to happen to spike up to the upside. And the reason why that's significant is because if it does happen, again, please do not buy or sell based off of my information. But if we bounce up to the upside enough and break through these downward trend resistance lines, and we have enough momentum in terms of shorts covering their shares, we break through this downward trend resistance line right here that dates back from the all-time high, we could have a nice run up. Pretty nice run up, I think. How high? It depends. Gonna have to almost assess it, but it could happen pretty quickly. That's the only problem too at the same time, because the problem is we have a lot of resistance in the $300 price point. That's the issue. Literally, you can see right here, just stuck a bunch of times at $300. This one is spiked up to $300 price point around here, pretty much matching this timing here. So it's kind of iffy. We'll see. Hopefully, it's a nice jump up to the upside where you have time to think about stuff. But again, nobody knows for sure. So we'll see. So if you want to know if, for example, Roaring Kitty's banking on this timing, if he's assessing it like this, then by April 20th, maybe something significant will happen because the line crosses from resistance and support around April 20th time frame. Now, the moving average, if you've been a viewer of my channel in the past, you know the moving averages could count as resistance as well. So it could get knocked down by $58, $59 price point, depending on when it meets the moving average right here. Might be hard to see, but this one right here. And then this moving average right here is around the $66, 100, sorry about that. Hopefully I didn't say 58 only, but $158 price point, give or take, plus or minus a couple dollars. And then $166 price point, plus or minus a couple dollars as well. Now I'm going to continue the video like I usually analyze the graph, but that's why I'm thinking, given his timing, given that the fact he exercised his shares or options to get the 50,000 shares, but he bought an additional 50,000 shares. So if I was thinking like, oh, he's going to wait for the upward trend support line, I would be like, oh, he just exercised them because they were about to expire, etc., etc. But the fact he bought them, maybe he's expecting it to bounce on this upward trend support line right here. So who knows? Okay, so now I'm going to cover the video in terms of the way I usually analyze the graph. So if you think that it's going to continue on this upward trend or like down, like upward trend support line right here, going, bouncing off, etc., so on and so forth, the way that Roaring Kitty potentially could be looking at it, I'm not 100% sure. But if you think that it's going to rely on the support level right here, it starts off at pretty much $145 price point, give or take. But before you get to that, you have support on the moving average right here at $152. And then technically this one could act as support since it acted as support before a bunch of times, like right here, touch point. Then you would have support at $148 price point. So given all those, plus I would say pretty strong support level at 100, like pretty much between $143 to $145 price point earlier in the trading day of April 16th for some reason showing, which actually that's not supposed to be, but April 19th. So April 19th, I guess it would adjust to 146 to 142. So $142, $146 price point, pretty decent support, plus or minus a couple dollars. I would be pretty confident about 142. And that would be based off this downward trend support level right here, upward trend support level right here, downward trend support resistance level right here, and the moving average at the $151, $152 price point, if you can see right here. Now, if you think it's going to go catabolic to the downside, just destruction and so on and so forth, then you're going to rely on this upward trend support line right here from December. Again, keep in mind, the December one's above, September one's below. And if it drops extremely quickly, actually not extremely quickly, but if it drops extremely quickly and all that stuff, then it would have to do it early in the April 19th kind of trading day. Then it would be $125 to $126 price point for the December upward trend support level. And again, just to recap, in case if you're a new viewer, essentially what you're banking on is if it hits those, you're looking for entry positions, right? So if it's 125, 126, and you're confident it's going to bounce on the December upward trend support level, then that's where it's going to bounce. So you're looking for entry positions. And I'm going to cover the upside too, because again, nobody knows for sure if it's going to go down or up. So I covered both the downside and the upside, just FYI. So if you think it's going to hit September, so break through the December one and bounce off the September one, like just like that, hypothetically, not exactly like that, but so on and so forth, it's $122 to $123 in September. Now, if you think it's just like destruction and you're like, it broke through these support levels, I'm going to mention this just because it's going to kind of hold true for quite a while, actually, probably for the next month, I would say, there's a horizontal support level right here. You could even see a bounce here, a bunch of consolidation periods right here as well. If it extremely falls dramatically, you could technically almost, if you want to take a risk, because this would be a risk ultimately, almost everything's a risk anyway, is if it falls quickly, you could almost bank on support between $119 to $112 price point, somewhere around there. If you want a more exact, it's almost $114, $113 price point. So anywhere between $119 and $112, it might not even touch below $119 because there's quite a bit of support, $119 price point. But either way, somewhere between $119 and $112, again, $113, $114 is more accurate based off the horizontal support level right here. Now, if it goes to the upside, actually, before I get to that, so drops through those levels. Now, the horizontal support levels, given we're at 154.69 as of April 16th trading day, like that was the last closed trading day. So support levels range in the 150 range as well, between 155 to 150, which is where we're at right now. Then you have support in the $140 price point range, which is mainly also 143 to 144 to $147 price point. Then you have horizontal support between the $136 to $130 price point, more specifically the $135 to $136 price point as well. And there's that. And then just trickles down to like all the other price points that I mentioned, the 125 to 126 and so on and so forth. Now, if we were to go to the upside, you're essentially banking on to bounce to the upside. Now, what I would expect is if you're thinking quite a bit of good strong support, you bounce off all the levels I mentioned. But let's just say it bounced off the moving. I don't think it'll bounce off the moving average actually. But the problem is, okay, so this is the thing though. It could bounce off the moving average because the MACD line is in the positive for the month chart, and I believe it's positive in the 3-month chart. Let's just go with 3-month chart. No, it's okay. It's about to cross over. So about to cross over, could get knocked down. We'll see. But let's just say worst case scenario bounces off this upward trend support level right here early in the day. So $145 price point, or again, moving average 152. But either way, bounces up to the upside or consolidates, moving up. I'll explain more about these upward trend support lines and where they could consolidate at. But you might get knocked down at the $157 price point, plus given the moving average. So 157 actually pretty much lines up with the horizontal resistance level as well. So 157, 158 price point, somewhere around there, depending on when you meet this downward trend resistance level. And then after you pass that, you have resistance with this moving average at $166 price point, give or take plus or minus a couple dollars, depending on when you meet it. But before you get there, there is resistance at $162 price point. That's horizontal resistance. Plus, just keep in mind too, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this in the past videos as often as I should, but like clean numbers, like for example, $160, $170, when it's clean numbers, those are usually like referred to like psychological numbers, where it's just like, it's always like a big task to pass them anyway. And if you're above them, they act as support, but it's just like, they're not necessarily strong resistance, but then and not necessarily strong support, but they tend to act as support and resistance depending on where you are in retrospect to them. So there's that. So next is 162, but it would be pretty good smooth sailing to where I think you bounce back up to the $170 price point. Now there is decent support, but resistance as well at the $167, $169 price point. Then you'd be meeting the resistance at the 170, like what I mentioned with those numbers. But 172 to 174 is quite a bit of resistance. Essentially, the main horizontal resistance is going to be at the 176 to 177. You could get knocked down on 175 as well, pretty strong there, but you would want to pass 177. And the thing is, you could have a false breakout to the upside and pass 177. That's fine. Yeah, at least you're showing progress of passing the 177, because false breakouts is still pretty good because it shows it breaks it at least. So there's that. So it could break it in the future. Like, it makes it easier to break in the future. Again, no guarantees though, but it helps at least. The main focus is to pass the 189 to 226 horizontal range. So horizontal resistance range. So $226 is pretty significant, pretty massive. Now, there's an issue though. There's this downward trend resistance line that I've explained that dates back since the all-time high of January 27th, January 28th, back tested in March 10th as well. If you think that you're just going to spike up dramatically on April 19th, let's just say, then hypothetically you will have pretty strong resistance at 235. Let's just say you go through all these levels, just destruction, just 226, just fly through it. Then you would have pretty strong resistance, like I stated earlier, 235 plus or minus a couple dollars. I'm anticipating if it spiked that fast, you would have a false breakout for sure. And if you did, you'd probably get knocked down by the horizontal resistance level between the 250 range. There's quite a bit. I can't remember. I apologize. I should have probably double checked. Can't remember if this was horizontal support level or if this was a diagonal coinciding with this, but I know 250 range plus or minus a couple dollars. So let's just say 254, 257 would probably pretty much knock you down as a false breakout. But it'd be good though, because a false breakout would show that this downward trend resistance line has been tampered with. So it could be potentially going back up to the upside, continuing at another date. So that's good. But again, no guarantees for sure. So after 226, $226 price point. The resistance is more in the 250 range, so that's what you'd be concerned about. Now, if you think it's just gonna, like I mentioned, hover or hug this upward trend support line, I'm not gonna mention these upward trend support lines because this one, the December one, almost coincides with this February one that I mentioned right here. So let's just say it hugs this upward trend support line and Roaring Kitty was banking on it. Let's just say hypothetically he was looking at the graph the same way, right? So if that's the case, then you would be at a $164 price point, give or take, or 165 plus or minus a couple dollars by April 26. It could probably break down too, and rely on the December support line at that time and be 160. So somewhere around the ballpark of $160, $167 price point. If you're anticipating that, I'm thinking if we broke that range, 167, maybe even touch 170. Again, that doesn't mean this. So it doesn't mean that you can't, for example, hug the upward trend support line right here and not have a spike up and then come back down on it. You could easily just do that. So just to elaborate, just in case. So what could happen too is this. So it could basically, I'm not drawing the line right, but okay, so essentially it could go on the upward trend support line and then have a massive spike, let's just say, and come back down to support. So these support levels, they could be met again, right? So like, for example, when you came down here on as a support level and then went back up to the upside, you could think all is good, hypothetically, great stuff, right? But you still came back down to it as support level. So just keep in mind, you could have a spike up, but you could still come back to support levels. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did like it or found it helpful at the same time, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel a lot. Thank you so much for that. And if you do like this, or do you like this video, like stock videos or other stock videos or other financial videos I'll be posting, consider subscribing. It does help the channel. Really appreciate it. And so that way you can be notified when I do upload those videos. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And that's pretty much it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.